Welcome to my Network Plus N10006 study guide. In this chapter, we're looking at Chapter 10, which is Command Line Tools. So in this chapter, we're looking at things that will be based off of Windows and UNIX commands. So first thing is using command line utilities. We have to talk about some of the common command line utilities for Windows and again for Unix. And we're not talking about PowerShell, we're just talking a traditional command line. So, we use command line to help configure and troubleshoot networking and networking issues that help run the operating system. While there are graphical user tools as well, there are some CLI-based commands as well. CLI, command line interface type commands. So for example, in Windows, if we want to look at a MAC address and a known IP address, in the command prompt, we can type arp-. So let's go ahead and open up a command prompt. So run and type cmd, and let's go ahead and type arp-a. And it's going to show you all of the MAC addresses, all of the IP addresses that are on my network. Next, we're going to look at netstat. Netstat will display information about IP-based connections. Netstat's really good because there's always a lot of different netstat commands. So netstat, very beginning, it will show you the local address, the foreign address, and their ports, and what the states are in. Okay, so it ran a few of them. Oh, so I have an issue with this guy right here. MSN bot 655210082225. What is that? I don't know. I happen to know that that is part of Bing's search. I'm running Windows 10, so there's some issues there. So netstat space question mark. It's going to give you a bunch of switches. Like A. -A will display all the connection and listening ports. So let's try that. Netstat -A. Oh, it's a lot more information. What about netstat? Oh, it's still going. Netstat -O. Not 0, but O. That will show you the ports, their foreign addresses, and their ports, and the processor ID for specific items. What about -A and -O at the same time? That will show you both of those inputs combined. What about netstat -r? That's going to show you your routing table for your current PC. Netstat -r show you the routing table, the MAC addresses, the NICs, the network addresses, their gateways, their interfaces, if you have IPv6 set up, and so forth. So netstat comes with all types of little items. What about the NBT stat? What's that? This is one that's not so common anymore. NBT stat. You need to make sure that you do the appropriate switches. Notice this one has both uppercase and lowercase. So let's do lowercase a. It did not like that whatsoever. What about capital A? All right, didn't like that either. What about C? So C will display PC's NetBIOS names in cache. There are no names stored in cache. What about just straight netstat? So netstat, or NBT stat, NetBIOS stat, is not really going to work very well here in Windows 10. Next, what about if we want to look at just some basic IP information like ipconfig? Let's go ahead and we're going to look at ipconfig by itself. It's going to display all current IP information. If you have an IPv6 address, if you have an IPv4 address, things of that nature. We can also do an ipconfig -all. -all will give you more details. I'll also give you the MAC addresses, the descriptions if they have descriptions. I'm going to go all the way up. So here's my actual physical connection. Here are my MAC addresses, my DHCP for IPv6. If we want to release and renew address, we can actually just do release. That will release all current addresses. And renew will force us to get a new address. Other commands could be, let's do a question mark, all components. It could be more details. We used to have things such as flush DNS, but with our command line, we got away from some of those. CLS to clear my screen. What happens if we want to do check some connectivity or check some paths? So I want to ping google.com. Well, it's going to ping 4 times. It's going to send an ICMP packet 4 times. But I want to see if it goes 5 times. So -n space and the number, it will ping that number times. I put -n5, it should ping 5 times. If I do -t, it will ping continuously. You can ping the IP address and or name, it doesn't really matter. Next is trace route. This will show you the path between me and my destination. So trace rt google.com, and this will show you the stops or the routers or the networks between me and my destination. And it should only take a minute. And to go from me to Google, it happened to take 12 steps, and it shows you the 12 different networks it took to get to Google. Okay, moving on. Other common commands are going to be the route and NSLOOKUP. So we already looked at netstats route, but can we just type route? Sure, but route's going to require us to do a little bit more, like route print. That will again show us our routing table. Just like it did when we did our netstat. So sometimes these commands are very similar. So the last command for Windows we need to look at is NSLOOKUP. NSLOOKUP. You'll notice the prompt will change, but this allows you to look up the domain name that you want to type. For example, google.com. It's going to check my DNS server, which happens to be Cox at the moment, and it should respond with their IP addresses and IP addresses. So that way you can both get its IPv4 and IPv6 address. What about Google with 3Os.com? All right, so that one gives me 5 responses. Again, all of those go back to Google, but you'll notice there are differences between Google with 3 O's and Google with 2 O's. What about www.google.com? Again, you're going to see there are going to be differences between www.google.com and google.com. Not just the W's that are there, but I mean, is a difference in the actual addresses. So we have some UNIX commands. Man is very common, and that's going to be manual. ARP, which we've already looked at ARP with our Windows command line. NSLOOKUP and dig are very similar commands in Unix/Linux. Host, I will show you the fully qualified domain name for an IP address. So host, fully qualified domain name, will translate to an IP address, very similar to NSLOOKUP. You'll notice other commands like traceroute, they very similar to traceRT in Windows, but here they actually have you spell it all the way out. Route-in gives you the default gateway. Instead of ipconfig in Linux, it's ifconfig, short for interface. Things like ping, netsat, again, still in Linux. Here with ping, it will be a -c in a number instead of -in in a number if you want it to ping X amount of time. And those are the basic commands in Windows/Linux that you need to know for your Network Plus.